The second paper of the conference will be presented by Mr. K T J de Silva, HR Executive, MAGA Engineering Private Limited, and who was the former President of Association of Human Resource Management.
Very good evening, all of you, dear chairs. The keynote speech of the first HR conference in 2014, Senior Professor HHDNP Opatha, and all academics of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura and all HR professionals in Sri Lankan industry, and ladies and gentlemen. My research article is Gender Differences of Human Resource Professionals in Sri Lankan Private Sector. So at the very beginning, I would like to and I should tell you about the difference of sex and gender. So first of all, I would like to tell the definitions of sex. Sex means biological characteristics of human life. There are two categories under the sex, that they are male and female. But the gender is a broader concept than the sex. It refers to culturally and socially constructed roles and privileges and relations and behavior patterns. So there are two categories under the gender. They are masculine and feminine. So over the last few decades, there is a remarkable increase in women participation in HRM field in the Sri Lankan and also world context. So and the growing body of the researchers criticize the divisions of work between male and female in the human resource professionals. So, and they, according to the LEG in 1987, traditional human resource management as a profession derived by female domain. So, like that, there are some kind of comments when I was referring to literatures and other sources. So, today women are especially in number than in men. It has mentions by Roos and mainly in 1996. However, there are few female representation in managerial level and higher managerial levels in global context. According to the some research and one of Fritzl and Brandil Midworth in 2011, they have identified and examined gender egalitarian effect of male and female HR managers. In their studies, they have identified normally traditional context, men are more doing more higher positions level in HRM field, and the female HR professionals are involved in administrative tasks. And these are the some definitions relating to gender. I told you at the very beginning of the first definition. It is the World Health Organization definitions. When it comes to the American Psychological Association definitions, danger refers to attitudes, feelings, behaviors, and in the given cultural associates of psychological and biological sex. So, and according to LEG and even in 1987, the HR profession has feminine image. They have identified HR profession as a feminine image, but in the managerial levels, they are underrepresented. So, however, there was a contradictory view is given by Brew and Liv in 1996. It is the HR manager positions are masculine reflection. This is the first comment of the contradictory view of the others. And in a lower hierarchical level, he has identified women participation and higher levels like that in previous in men participation. So when it comes to the problem study of my study, due to the lack of available research, there is no any clear idea on the dominant gender for the HR professionals. However, in Sri Lankan context, there is no any single findings related to the HR professionals based on gender differences. So then it create research gap on gender prefers to HR professional. Then I created some problem, and there was arised some research problem which gender types dominated in HR professionals in Sri Lanka. So based on this problem, I have done my study. So now you can see the my literature review. There is a limited time period. Then I quickly go through my literature review. First, Ali in 2011 has mentioned sex and gender are two different concepts. Sex differ than gender. So and sex dimensions are biological characteristic, and gender are another aspect, cultural aspect and social aspect. According to the Oakley in 1972, first he was the first author to distinguish sex and gender. And gender refers in this social constructed way in masculine and femininity. So man and women are referring to sex, but femininity and manhood are referring to gender. It is arised by Ali in 2011. So in the general field of management, there are research findings feminine leadership about in the history. According to the literature review, there was feminine leadership style, but then after in the recent past, they have some researchers have identified it is converted into the other aspects. So most task jobs are gendered work in job may be either feminine or masculine. It arises by another researcher in the literature. So that block grant in 1991, masculine genders job and feminine gender jobs. There are two gendered jobs. In the for as an example, for the masculine gendered jobs, it has mentioned firemen, policemen, and so on. So as the feminine gendered jobs, secretaries, educators, and nurses, they have mentioned. So while I was referring this literature, I thought, what is the real gender for HR professional? Because we know in the management context, the terms of manager, the first three letters man. See, that means it is we can see it is male dominated, but we don't have, and there are no any studies relating to our profession of HRM. So in my study, I used BEM sex role inventory, and later I will discuss what is that inventory and importance of this inventory. So by using BEM sex role inventory, there are many researchers, and use this inventory for their investigation to identify gender differences. So Pavel and Buffried in 1979 pointed out a good manager would be seen as androgynous. So androgynous means possessing both masculine and feminine characteristics. So when it comes to the methodology of my study, I considered the all HR professionals in this country, especially in private sector, as the population of my study, and I used convenient sampling method for my study because of the as it is efficient. I thought it is efficient and quick method to gather the primary data to my study. So, and the other thing is for my sample I selected around 100 HR professionals to gather my data for this study, and this sample is consists of both male and female HR professionals, and the questionnaires a questionnaire used to gather data, and the questionnaire was developed by BEM sex role inventory. So I'm going to explain some little bit about the BEM sex role inventory. So it is done by BEM 1974. So it is the inventory to identify gender differences. So in that inventory there are feminine characteristics and also masculine characteristics to identify gender differences. And therefore in that inventory I use 40 items for my study to measure masculinity and femininity. In my analysis, I used 7 Likert scale. It ranged to very positive aspect to very negative aspect. So I used SPSS software to measure the mean value and other values to get my results. So this is the distribution of BEM sex role inventory. What are the areas and what type of genders can be happen. So there are, according to the BEM, there are 4 kind of genders. First one, androgynous and female sex type, male sex type, and also undifferentiated. So as the benchmark of this study, the 4.9 is the benchmark. If some characteristic more than 4.9, it is strong character, and it is under the 4. Less than the 4.9, it is low. And in my sample, there were 64 male HR professionals and 36 female HR professionals. So the overall value of the masculinity of this sample for 5.36. So it is the strong masculinity these samples, and therefore this is considered as HR professional in Sri Lanka, irrespectively sex categorized. In the overall mean value of the femininity of the sample was 4.34. So it is lower than the benchmark of the BEM's inventory. Then it derives the overall femininity of the sample irrespectively low. This is the characteristics in the BEM sex role inventory. So you can see the total sample and male HR professionals characteristic, and also female HR professionals characteristic, and the light orange color characteristic are the low level characteristic, and all others are in strong level. So this is the result of my study. In my study, there was 52% of male sex type gender, and there was 28% androgynous gender type, and undifferentiated gender type was 20%. But the thing is, there are no any frequent relating to female sex type. So this is the based on my result, androgynous, male sex type and undifferentiated type. This is the characteristic show the their strong or low contribution to the DEX gender types. So you can see as example, shy, loyalty, femininity in the androgynous. These are the low characteristic to build up, and all the things are strong characteristic to create androgynous gender type. So as well as male sex and undifferentiation also like that. So and other gender type is undifferentiated. It is 20% of my total sample. That in that category, masculinity and femininity are in low level. So this is now I am going to discussions of gender differences of HR professionals. Due to lack of theoretical findings on this topic, it was difficult to identify HR professionals' gender orientations with the global context, and HRM was a field which dominated by women in the history. It is one source by I got through the literature, and HRM was welfare activities, and welfare activities are done by normally women workers. So this is a contradictory view of the findings of my study, and female HR managers rejected the femininity stereotype and adapted to the male dominated corporate culture. And the major finding of my research is male sex type. It can be justified by giving the weak births identifications and weak births some comments in his study. And the male HR manager behavior, more task roles, giving more opinions, argumentative, dominant decision making, criticizing options, ideas, and other characteristics including the weak births study. So finally, as conclusion of this, different authors mentioned about the HRM was a female-dominated field, but currently it is shifting to the male dominations. So, in Sri Lankan practices, majority of HR professionals are male than in female. It's proved by my samples, and this is at the top position of the HR hierarchy of the organization in Sri Lankan context.
Interesting paper and an interesting topic to pursue, given the nature of the student population, which is largely female in this university in HRM, and as you said, it's still the majority of HR professionals are females. Yes, so it was a very interesting study in that respect. I think it would have also been very interesting to have a look at the figures for different hierarchical levels in the population that you surveyed. So how many were managers? What was the difference between managers, assistant managers, other HR professionals, and so on, in terms of what they considered the appropriate behaviour, and what is the type of behaviour they pursue in their profession. You used a very old instrument, 1974. Not that I'm saying old is bad, but there's been a lot of cultural studies since 1974, particularly in the late 80s and 90s. Why did you select this particular measurement instrument?
Yeah, when I search about the literature reviews, so there are many researchers have used this instrument, this inventory for their research. So in that inventory, validity and reliability already have done, and I think I thought it is good for my research because it is a world recognized inventory, and it has proved by many researchers in the history.
Right. Okay. No, that's good. And the other thing is, the only thing is again. Do you think it could have been adapted for cultural differences, for example, using an international survey in different cultures? This might have been American or European instrument. Did you feel it was successful within the Sri Lankan HR professional workforce?
Yeah, the characteristic of that inventory is relating to Sri Lankan professionals also. When it consider about the characteristics, they are relevant to our culture.
Okay, right, okay. So, thank you very much.